what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy this.
Yeah.
Break down LSU's ability to stop a dual threat quarterback.
Well, they're killing squirrels.
Because that is one of, Jake, the more interesting elements here where we have contradictory pieces of evidence, right? You have really struggled at times against running quarterbacks. I think Lenore Sellers was doing a really good job against you. Now, granted, your pass rush was solid enough where you got to him and you knocked him out of the game. You never seek to knock someone out of the game, but it was not dirty, and it was a legitimate football play that led to him not being able to play. That was a good pass rush, right? So Lenore Sellers, bit of a mixed bag, though.
Yeah.
Sellers probably winning that game early on. Talon Green, though, you absolutely dominate. Now, Talon was a bit more. He was having a pretty good impact in that first, maybe a bit better than the final score indicated. Feels like, but like you end up dominating him. But then Marcel Reed comes in, and that's kind of its own weird situation. But he completely dominates you, and so it's like, how do we feel about LSU defending a dual threat guy and probably the premier one in Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, and it's a fair question, and the way you lay it out, you're right. Like, they've done really well, and they've not done so well. And, you know, the Marcel Reed, that's so interesting. And I know a lot of people kind of get angry when we talk about, you know, not preparing for him. How do you not prepare for him? And because Connor Wigman was their guy, and it's not like you didn't work on some of that stuff, and you always have it in your back pocket. But when you're in college, it's not the NFL. Like in the NFL, you have time to cover everything. You don't have that same luxury in college football. So I'm not saying that it would have gone incredibly well, but I think it would have looked better against Marcel Reed.
Well, and how about this contextually as well? You give a running quarterback who has a deficit to overcome, you give him a 15-yard field, right? And then
Multiple
like a 20-yard
times,
field. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like it was kind of a perfect storm of.
You got him comfortable early because he had 15 yards. He's a talented player.
And he's good, though. Like, I know A&M got their ass kicked last week, but Marcel Reed was really good for a lot of that game.
So good.
Yeah, I know. South Carolina's defense
Really
is awesome. Like, Reed was actually standing up to, like, insane Williams-Brice Stadium. Like, I'm still a believer in Reed, very much so.
Oh, he'll be good, yeah.
But yeah, so that was a bit unique there.
So I wonder if they had the same game plan that they had against Arkansas. Against Arkansas, it's like, hey, we are going to make sure that we don't get beat by you running the football, and we're going to allow you to hit these 5-yard drags. We're going to allow you to, that's going to be you until our pass rush figures it out. And LSU's pass rush did figure it out against them, but they had a plan, keep everything kind of in front of you. They weren't as aggressive as they've been in the past, and I think it was because of the running quarterback. I expect it to be more of the same. Like, you even did a pretty good job against Jackson Dart. I know he had some Q runs in third and long situations where Ole Miss was trying to, just get what they could, and so the yards might not look like it. But I thought you did a pretty good. Like, Jackson Dart can run.
Yeah,
I mean, he had another 50 yards.
It's fair to call him a dual threat.
He had another 50 yards against Arkansas this last weekend. So I thought you did a pretty good job there, but you're going to have to do your best job in this game.
Yeah, because like Marcel Reed felt that last game, Jalen Milroe is likely the fastest player on the field when he's on the field, or he's close to it, right? He's right up there with all the wide receivers.
I was about to say, like, there's nobody you have on defense that's as fast as him, and I can speak that in absolutes.
Maybe Ryan Williams on Alabama's offense would be, I don't know. But, yeah, Jalen Milroe, probably the fastest guy on the field.
Now, I believe more in Milroe as a thrower than most do, but I still would make him beat you throwing the football, which you did not do. You had a masterclass on how not to do that a year ago. Yeah. Like, I still can't believe how bad that defensive game plan was against Jalen Milroe. Like, if you have a better game plan.
Let's just defend the pass. Let's drop everybody into coverage.
And turn their backs to Jalen Milroe. See how that works out for us. If you had a better plan, you win that game a year ago. Like, I truly believe that. Like, it was the plan that got you beat. You can point to 7 plays in that game that you didn't play Jalen Milroe correctly, and you lost the game. Because think about it. The momentum you had, you score before half, you score coming out of half.
I know.
And you just didn't do what you needed to do to stop a guy
Jaden doesn't get hurt.
that is as athletic as anybody on the field. And he's going to make plays with his legs in this game, but how much can you minimize those plays?
How do we feel about the Ryan Williams factor
You just say, hey,
Zy Alexander.
You say, hey, Zy Alexander, you're our guy. I would not have, and I'm never, traveling corners sometimes can get you in trouble, but I would have a hard time not having Zy Alexander on him 80% of the time.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like anybody else that runs up against him, if you're in a man.
Ole Miss game, you tried to just allow it to play out, and you're like, oh nope, can't do that.
Yeah,
can't do that. Zy, you got Trey.
Yeah, and then he shut him down. Yeah. After that, so that would make sense. What about this? If you look at when Jalen Milroe has struggled this year, probably the main time was Tennessee, right? The next closest would have been South Carolina. Both big road games in tough environments, so that's something you have going for you. But more importantly, Jake, probably definitely South Carolina, probably the best D-line in the entire SEC. And Tennessee right up there with maybe like Ole Miss, as either 2 or 3 in the league. So again, on the road against an elite D-line, that's the time when Alabama's that time when Jalen Milroe specifically looked really bad or okay. LSU's defensive line is going to have to be at their best and at their most disruptive, winning their one-on-ones. I think if they're going to recreate some of that,
you got to worry about rush lanes this week.
Yeah.
Certainly. Like when you kind of think about when LSU has gotten home, it's been around the bend. It has been around the tackle. It hasn't been a lot of interior stuff. And it hasn't really even been from your edge rushers, any kind of up and under situations. Not been a lot of inside rushes. But you have to be careful. My point in laying that out is you have to be careful when you get home by going around the tackle, because if that pocket gets too high, then Milroe is going to have the ability to step up and take off. So you have to find the balance of rushing the quarterback, but also staying with rush integrity. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's hard. I mean, these edge rushers, they are wired to go get the quarterback, but you do have to be careful in your rush in a game like this and still create the pressure that you're talking about.
Yeah, and then look, you'll have spy Stuff with Weeks.
Suggs has been really good in the interior rush.
Yep,
but he hasn't played as much. Does he play more in this game because of that ability?
I was just thinking that in my head as you were talking like 30 seconds ago about Suggs. So it's crazy that you just got there as well, because I'm wondering, does he take on greater import, trying to maintain some of that interior pass rush so that maybe Milroe can't step up or you have it more locked down. And look, a lot of this will come down to scheme. I think Baker's done a good job this year. Maybe Marcel Reed excluded, of when they rush a dual threat quarterback. A lot of times they've done a good job of scheming up games where they kind of funnel him to where they want to, right? Where maybe you have the end go up and under, specifically trying to influence him to roll that way. Only Weeks or somebody else, Major Burns, is coming right off the edge there, kind of waiting with open arms. So, again, I feel pretty good. I don't think LSU's D-line's quite is not on the level of Tennessee's or South Carolina's, but they are good. And Baker's scheme has been solid. Like I feel like there's a good chance they could have some of the same success that those teams had against Milroe.
JVR Suggs, as we mentioned, like really good rushing the quarterback. Now some of his run defense has been good, hasn't been terrible, hasn't fallen off a cliff or anything. But you know what his pass rush grade is in a year?
I mean, I know his pressure rate's pretty insane, so I'm guessing like 85 or something.
87.
Yeah, that's crazy.
On the year. That's a big number.
That's a huge number.
I mean, it was 90 against A&M. It was 75.5 against Arkansas. 84 against UCLA. So some of the power teams that you have played, like I'm not counting Nichols and South Alabama where he dominated those games. Like even if you take those out, for the most part, like in your biggest opponents, he's gotten after the quarterback really well.
Yeah.
I mean, he had what they consider 10 key plays in the Texas A&M game alone.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.